My name is Matt Scarchilli. I own Sandler Training here in Albany. Kind of a cool story of how we got here. So the last company that I owned was a software company called SportsSignup, and we automated the registration processes and league management tools for youth sports organizations. It was a lot of fun. We had a good time doing it. We built it from myself and another founder up to I think we had 60 employees in 3 different locations by the time we exited that business, and ended up being sold to Sports Illustrated. So that was kind of cool. Just before, it's about a year and a half before we sold the business, I had entered into an agreement with Sandler Training. So the previous owner of Sandler had come in and trained my sales team. I went through the management track. I drank the Kool-Aid. I put my customer service team through the customer service track. So as a company, we were all in. And then after we had that exit, she came to me and said, "Hey, Matt, you were a great client. I'm getting ready to retire. Would you be interested in buying this thing?" And here we are.
Wow, that's awesome. I had no idea. And I actually was wondering, because it's a very entrepreneurial still environment for you to be in, owning and operating your own business. I don't really love the expression, but like eating what you kill kind of a thing, where nobody's going to make it happen but you. So I was actually wondering if you had an entrepreneurial background, and that's interesting to me. So how long were you guys doing that before this?
SportsSignup we did for about 15 years, and it was me and a co-founder, and we built the business and knew what we were good at and hired for what we knew we weren't good at, including a CEO, because neither of us were that smart. and here we are.
That's awesome.
It was fun.
Do you think you have any of that left in you? Any kind of new ventures that you're gonna?
Well, I left out the failure part of the story, Patrick. So the failure part of the story is after I left SportsSignup, I left to go to another startup, and we had created a software to help the communication between tenants and landlords. I learned that we were way late to the market. I learned that there were some really big dogs in the market, and we didn't do our homework very well. And we were behind the 8 ball. And unfortunately, we didn't get the funding we needed to really build out the product the way that it should have been built out. And at the same time, that's when Lorraine kind of approached me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in this?" So there was a failure in there as well, for sure.
Well, I mean, that I'm relieved to know that you're human and that you've had failures. But it is a part of the process. I mean, we interviewed somebody about a month or 2 ago, and I asked him kind of how he got to where he was today, and he said, all failures. It was all mistakes to finally get to the point where you knew how to succeed. And they're not, it's as cheesy as anything else, but without the failure is the lesson. That's the thing that kind of shows you the next door. So today you are running Sandler Albany, and I understand kind of from knowing you and from knowing Sandler what that means, but what are some of your engagements look like? What are people hiring you for? I know you guys there's a lot of training and professional development in it, but can you talk a little bit about the types of engagements that you have and the people that are bringing you into their organizations, what it is that you're doing for them?
Sure, happy to do that. So basically, Sandler is an international company, and I own the local franchise, and really train in 3 different areas. We train in sales, which is what Sandler is really known for, is our sales training. We also train entry-level management as well as customer service. So there's really 3 different areas that there's true training in. Along with those training comes coaching in those areas as well. So training is teaching someone something that they don't know. Coaching is taking those things that they know and making them better at it. So there's training and coaching involved. And then what I really like to do as well is work with companies on a consulting basis in each of those categories. So I'm not a CEO coach. I'm not a business coach. That's not what I do. But if they need help trying to figure out how to scale their sales team or how to hire the right people, I love getting involved in that. Same thing with the customer service side. And those managers, I feel bad for a lot of those first-time managers because they're the best salespeople, right? That, "Hey, Patrick, you did a great job. Congratulations. Guess what? Now you're the manager. Good luck," right? There's no training that goes along with it. So I like doing that as well. The engagements are pretty much all over the board, anywhere from a single disc assessment, 3-hour training with a company, to multi-year, every quarter I come back and do reinforcement, to people come to our training center every week for a year, sometimes 2 years, to learn the Sandler system, and to really going from knowing it to owning it, and everything in the middle.
Cool. I love the difference between training and coaching, and actually kind of getting people to not just learn something, but then getting them to where they are using it and understanding it. And that's the key. I mean, I actually, I see this huge explosion right now of all these training, e-learning companies. And I'm like, man, who wants to watch more video trainings? Like,
dude, I can't sit in front of this screen any longer.
I'm
going for a run or something. I'm out.
Yeah, you have to. Which actually, I'm glad you brought up running, because running is one of my tools in my toolkit to stay balanced and productive and high energy, and honestly just sane, I think, sometimes. But what are some of the things that you do? Some that maybe would be that are work related, if there's ways that you stay organized and prioritized and know kind of that you're spending your time in the right things. But then in general, like, how do you manage your time and self to be a top performer? Because I know you can't be a great trainer or a great coach if you're like not at some level at performing at a high level yourself, right? So what are some of the things that you do to stay on?
Well, the first thing I do is try not to manage time, because you can't, right? A second is a second, a minute's a minute. No matter what I do, try to manage it, it doesn't change. So what I've learned to do is manage the behaviors that I do in that time. So what are the activities that I choose to participate in, and what's the hierarchy of importance of those activities? So if I make that change from managing time to managing activities, it's much easier for me. And I'm not smart enough to have figured that out. I've learned that along the way. Somebody taught me that. That's actually one of the Sandler concepts. And the other thing that I do for time activity management is, I don't know whether you've ever seen the Eisenhower Matrix. So our President Eisenhower, back when he was president, created this matrix, and it talked about where to put your activities. And it's the important, need to do now bucket. There's the I can do it later bucket and schedule it. There's the I can delegate a bucket. And then there's the this is wasting my time bucket. And if I put those activities in the right place, then I know how to spend my time. And on a personal level, I am still not at the place where I'm back in the gym yet, but I won't call myself a gym rat, but I'm building a gym in the cellar slowly but surely with what becomes available. And I'm down there every morning. My wife is down there every morning. So we're down there. Well, she's way earlier than I am. I'm down there at 5:30 or 6 o'clock at the earliest. But every day, that's part of what I do. That's part of keeping the mind, body, spirit together.
That Eisenhower Matrix is new to me and sounds incredibly useful. I'm definitely going to take a peek at that. And we're also, one thing I look for in these types of conversations is like I think you just had like 3 really great little nuggets that are going to help a lot of people understand
Good.
How to be productive. Yeah. So and this is a question that I love, because I've heard really bad advice that sticks with me throughout my years. And you mentioned, you learn things through some other folks over the years. What's maybe some of the most impactful advice that you've received? And then also maybe like on the flip side, if you've ever had some really bad advice that kind of taught you a lesson as well, but you want to share a little bit of that?
I was blessed enough to have learned early in my career not to take advice and to listen to people's experiences. And so I try not to give advice. It comes out sometimes as advice, and I don't mean it that way. But if I can share with someone what I've been through, and they can identify with it or not identify with it, or extract things that they can learn from it, to me, that's more valuable than someone giving me advice, right? So just because I did it a certain way doesn't mean Patrick's going to do it a certain way, or James is going to do it a certain way, or Coop is going to do it a certain way. It's different for everybody. So who am I to give advice? I don't live in your head. But I can tell you what happened to me. And when I listen to people, I listen to what happened to them. So I love stories.
Nice. That's great advice. I think The bad advice that I got, but the learning that was that when you ask someone for advice, they tell you oftentimes what they would do,
Right.
and that's not necessarily what you should do. So if
Right.
you want to get the good advice, go to the people that are doing the things you want to be doing, or that have done the things you want to do, and they can actually light the path for you. Versus,
And it becomes experiential.
Exactly. Yeah. Because when you're younger in your maturity, career, whatever it is, you go to people in authority, which doesn't, people in authority, people in positions of, your parents or administrators, whoever it is, thinking that they're going to just be able to show you the way. But the fact is, that they may not align with you in the things that you're actually trying to accomplish. But I always love that. I always love that question. That's some sage wisdom there. Do you have, from a sales standpoint, do you have like a top lesson or a thing that you find that most people just don't get about sales that you kind of are constantly reminding other people about, or yourself about, like something that is the biggest misnomer that,
I won't call it a misnomer, but I tell you where a lot of people get the light bulb moment when I talk, and not just to salespeople, when I talk to management, when I talk to just people in general, and talk about communication, right? Communication is a huge piece of what we do every day. And what I find is that people manage, people perform their customer service role, people perform their sales role in a way that they sell the way they want to buy, as opposed to selling the way someone else wants to buy. They give customer service the way they would like to have received it, as opposed to giving customer service the way that you want to receive it. So if you can get out of the "it's about me" piece of it, and you can get into your prospect's head, your customer's head, whoever, your employees' heads, and look at it through their eyes and help put it in a way that they can identify with, that's the biggest thing. We talk about disc styles a lot for anybody who's familiar with disc styling, and it's amazing the number of people who just don't think about just how to match and mirror. If you're short and to the point, I should be short and to the point. If you're a conversationalist, I need to learn how to be a conversationalist.
Yeah.
So I think that answers your question. I think I'm there.
It's no, it does. I think that's a common thing. People just, or they sell the way that they think it's they focus on either too much on the script, too much on the product, too much on pushing the thing versus learning how the person wants to do it.
At the end of the day, you can't sell anybody anything. They have to decide that they need or want it.
Yeah, I think another way I years ago had the first and I shouldn't say this to you. It's like, but my first and only sales coaching I really ever had was maybe about 5 years ago, and I was getting on the call and the sales coach goes, "Okay, well, I'll bet you have an agenda ready. Like, dude, do you have your agenda?" And I go, "Yeah, I got this, and this, already." He goes, "Okay, well, what's their agenda? What are they hoping to get out of the call?" And I said, "Well, I'm not really sure." And he goes, "Well, that's your agenda. That's the only thing that matters is what they want. What are they hoping to get out of it?" And of course, like, none of the things I had planned on talking about actually mattered until I could understand where they were coming from and what they were actually hoping to get out of the service. Okay, so let's talk about your business, your growth plans for the next 2021. I'm sure half of it is, probably picturing some of the same from what we're taking from the COVID era into 2021. But what's the outlook for you next year? What are you doing differently? Anything that you're focused on to grow your business?
So that's an interesting question in the way that you phrased it, right? So you could have asked the questions, how are you going to run your business in 2021? But you didn't say that. You asked me, how are you going to grow your business in 2021? And I can't answer your question because I've learned the hard way that I don't want to grow my business hugely, right? So we did that with SportsSignup. We built this big, huge thing, and it was a monster. It was awesome. It was great. But I don't want to do that today. And it took me 2 years of owning Sandler to figure out that I didn't want to do that and trying to pull all the buttons and turn all the knobs and do all the things to grow. And I sat down one day and I said, I don't really want to do this. I'm not having fun. So I tooled back. And, you know, my goal for 2021, I have a financial goal for the company. It's higher than it is for 2020, but it's not exponential growth. I'm not going to add 6 people. I'm not going to add huge geography. I'm not going to add new products and services. So I don't have that type of goal, but I did start working with you guys, and that's been awesome. That's been my top of the funnel, Phil.
Right.
And it, you know, I know this isn't a commercial for Nerdwise, but I'd be crazy if I want to at least acknowledge the fact that, you know, the top of my funnel, I have to worry a little bit less about because it's coming in. Now it's my responsibility to close the business, but it's coming in. So just putting things into place that make my life easier, like using you.
I actually love a couple things that you said, but I love the spirit of your goals in the business and how you're operating it. When I asked around your plans for the next year, because I have a connection with that. I think there's many modes that people can be in with their business. I've raised venture capital and had a business like yours before, and it's no longer your business. It's an investment vehicle, and your life changes really quickly. You're the culture of your business, I should say. Your business is no longer just your business. But the question that you kind of lit up for me was, how do you measure your own success? Because even your answer around your business is not necessarily what every CEO, every business owner is going to say. You've been, but because of course you want to grow, you're doing these other things, but you're not putting a lot of pressure on yourself. But what is success for you? Personally, professionally, what are some of the ways that you measure your own success or think about it?
So we're all at different points in our lives, and we all have different experiences. And, if you had asked me this when I was 30, it'd be a lot different than now that you're asking me that I'm 55, right? The answer changes over time. Today, for 2021, what I define as success in the business world. So there's business success, there's spiritual success, there's physical success, there's all these different things, but specifically to the business world, it's really help. And this is going to sound so cliche, but it's helping people. I love when I hang up the phone with a client and they've had that light bulb moment, like, oh my gosh, that's all I needed to do is set that upfront contract and set the expectation for the meeting. And I could have done this or this, and it would have. And if I hang up from that person and I've helped them reach their goals, that's success to me. And I know it sounds cliche and I don't really care because it's the truth.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, and it does make sense at different stages and with where you're at now. And I mean, it's the same for me. It's as it relates to business success. And that's what I really look for, is where we can actually have an impact. Even when I'm selling, if I feel like somebody's, got cold feet or unsure, or they don't think it's a fit, well, I don't want to push on that either. Right. I don't want to have a revolving door business where you
Right.
can't actually help people for whatever number of factors. It's not necessarily them. It's just but it feels great when it's a real, can be a positive roller coaster, a real journey together where you're actually growing in the way that, you set out to, accomplishing those goals and creating that value. Especially when you're working with, people in their career, their development, their performance, their business, their commission check, their other things, whatever it is, it's great. You sharing with me that we're filling the top of your funnel, like that made my day, right? That's a great feedback for me to hear. Matt, this has been great. Is there anything else that you want to add? And I do want to ask you to add, maybe for those who want to get in touch with you, the best way to do that, whether it's through LinkedIn, email, your website.
I'm easy. You can contact me any way you want. So nobody can ever spell my last name. So I shortened it at Sandler. It's matt.scar, SCAR, @sandler.com. You can call me directly. It's fine with me, 518-366-0004. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Matt Scarchilli, Scarchilli, Albany. It's not a very common name.
Yeah.
Find it.
Matt, thank you again so much for doing this. Thanks for your time and insights. Appreciate it.
Good stuff. Thank you, Patrick.